Everyone, how's it going? Thought I'd have a quick update on the PSA submissions. It's currently in the QA check 2 stage, so right before shipping. So hope to have those within the next week, and then of course next week we'll have our, if all goes well, maybe next weekend we'll have our unboxing. I'll do my best not to look at the grades ahead of time this time, so we can look at them together, and yeah, it'll be a blast hopefully. Sorry, as mentioned before, I have some pack openings at Coruscant, so here's hoping for some mains there. Yeah, but I also thought I'd give a little, just, another 2 cents of another person on the whole situation in the markets right now, where there's a lot of awareness around collusion and price manipulation and those sorts of things in the collectible markets, and just how that might, translate or hopefully not translate over to Star Wars CCG. So yeah, recently in the news, there's been, especially with the expose by is it Carl Jobst, but that documentary on WATA Games and heritage auctions, and how there appears to be some potential collusion occurring there, inflating prices, and I guess what probably makes people the most maybe upset, is upset the right word? Yeah, like it doesn't feel good though that certain very wealthy individuals who have a history of manipulating markets appear to be potentially doing the same thing here again, and at the expense of starry-eyed video game enthusiasts who really do enjoy the products. Certain individuals appear to be maximizing, how do I say this? Maximizing financial returns to themselves, potentially at the expense of these individuals who actually just enjoy video games for the sake of it. Right? And this is possible because of certain, a combination of probably market, I don't know, I call it marketing, but these high auctions are just shown all over the place, like Super Mario and WATA 9.2 or 9.4 or whatever goes for hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even $1 million plus. But on the other hand, you have no idea how rare these items actually are, because WATA doesn't have any population reports of how many of these graded games in high condition exist out there. They could be, numerous, or maybe they actually are rare. Like, again, I've seen people make comparisons that these items cost more than like a car or a house. But, there's people out there that just have so much money that, maybe they really just do want a pristine copy of Super Mario Brothers. Like, it is possible, but it doesn't appear that prices are really have organically grown to this point, so to say. People have dived a little bit further into what the numbers were kind of before WATA and after WATA, and it's clear that there's certainly been there's probably been a lot of work put into marketing the games and all that, the graded games by WATA. And to some degree, I kind of get it. Like, if you have a business, you do want it to succeed, but that's where you get that kind of moral, a fine line that no one really knows where it is, and everyone has their own line. Like, what is kind of the optimal path, and where do you kind of start straying from that, and where does it kind of become immoral? So then, as it applies to Star Wars CCG, fortunately for us in this market, I mean, myself, I'm grading most of my cards through PSA. Other people heavily prefer Beckett, but either way, you have population reports. So it's not like we could totally pull the wool over someone's eyes and say like, oh, here's this card, it's so great. But you can go yourself and see like how hard it is to get, a PSA 7, 8, 9, or a 10 in that card. I mean, it's a little early, so there's probably not many of them out there yet, but at least at least it's out there, and you have a general sense for like total print numbers and that sort of things. I've actually put a lot of work into that in the past. I made a thread on the CCG forums a year ago now, probably about a year ago, trying to get rough like estimates for box production numbers, and like I know others have done work with kind of finding the relative pull rates of certain rares. So if put the number of kind of estimated boxes and the number of kind of the estimated pull rate for a card, you can kind of predict roughly around how many cards exist out there, and that. Like, again, the game's about 20 years old. It was played by a number of heavily invested players for the majority of its lifespan. So you can kind of do the numbers yourself and see if they make sense, right? There's enough data out there to ensure at least some sort of transparency. But nonetheless, then on the other hand, you have kind of the double-edged sword of transparency versus opacity. And what do I mean by that, right? Like on one hand, I'd love to be completely transparent with people and say that, I'm just buying this, I'm buying that for X, Y, and Z, and I've got nothing to hide from you. Like I really don't want to, but if I were to start doing that, or if someone else were to start doing that, you might actually, like, well, first of all, you might, even if you don't mean to, you might influence markets because you'll influence people's choices based on what they hear you say, and then I say I buy something, and then all of a sudden it just becomes, well, it draws attention, and then that drives the price up, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's inorganic. It's not wrong, but it may have effects beyond me just sharing information. Like it'd be nice if I could just share information and it was just that. It's like, well, this is just information, and that's all it is. Well, not necessarily. There's always cause and effect. But I guess the other aspect of transparency, kind of in a negative way, would be, myself. Like, am I being honest with myself? Like, am I just sharing this because I just want to share information, or maybe I really do want to drive up the price? Like, it's kind of nice if every time I were to buy something new, I tell everyone, hey, I'm buying like X product. And then, because I say it, then all of a sudden the price jumps. And, it's nice that have that security of like, well, I just bought something and it like doubled or tripled in price. And then also I'm like, oh, I'm right. Like, look how, great I am at this. Like I'm saying, I'm just buying these things and they always work out, right? So you kind of have to, know yourself in that aspect. But on the flip side, I guess, would be complete opacity, right? If I don't tell anybody what I'm doing. And I think I've tried to be pretty transparent about my involvement in like grading and all that of cards. I posted about it. I was probably one of the people posting about it last year when it was kind of like a, what's the term? Like, not even a mote in the eye of the parents or whatever. But like it wasn't really a thing like this time. Well, maybe this time last year it was, but like say January of 2020, it wasn't really like, it's kind of like, well, that's not really a thing in Star Wars CCG. And now at least it's kind of becoming its own thing, right? So at least I've been transparent on that. But what I mean to say is, if I don't say anything that I'm doing, right? Like, let's just say that, there's certain individuals on eBay who buy a ton of cards and no one really knows who the individual is. It's really easy to, give them all sorts of malintentions in your mind, right? Like, what is this person doing? Are they trying to like manipulate the markets? Like, are they just hoarding things? Are they like trying to drive up prices? Like, what are they doing? And if you have no idea who the person is, if you have no idea what their intentions are, you can ascribe them. Sorry, I just got something in my eye. You can give them all sorts of bad intentions in your mind, and that's likely going to happen no matter what when there's this much potential like capital involved, right? Because people have their own like pain points, right? So for example, let's say somebody had a lot of cards and maybe they sold them off, and then all of a sudden the price goes up 10 times in value, 100 times in value. I don't know. Like, let's just say they miss out on games, right? Well, there's, they don't want to be wrong. No one wants to be duped. So it's easy to create stories, and one of the easy stories would be like, well, these people took advantage of me, right? Or they're manipulating the market, or, just all sorts of like things that aren't necessarily wrong. Like, not necessarily right either. It's just, the tales someone tells themselves to kind of ease their mental state, so to say. And, we all do that to some degree. Like, I do that for sure. It's just kind of the way the world works, right? We hope that the people who are on our side are the heroes, and well, there's some other people out there who are not the heroes so much, and that our side will, remain victorious or whatever. Like, we all have kind of our own heroes and anti-hero, not heroes, the other side, whatever it is. Yeah, I hope that the Star Wars CCG, graded market will become more of a thing as time goes on. I really enjoyed it. Like, I loved collecting the card game back in the 90s. I love Star Wars. I think it's interesting to me that it just hasn't become a thing, right? When I was getting back into Pokemon, probably in like 2018, 2019, just like looking through my cards, getting some of my high-end cards graded, like my Charizard, like I wondered why Star Wars didn't really have it, like, right? Because when I was in the 90s, it was like I collected Star Wars CCG. Then I kind of switched over to Pokemon once Pokemon became a thing, right? So I was into Star Wars, and a lot of people were too. Like, you even hear people like Rudy and Alpha Investments talk about how he used to, have some of it. And of course, no one really knew how to play the game, but like, it's kind of ridiculous for a game that was as widespread as it was, and for an IP that's as like successful as Star Wars has been. Just hasn't become a thing. It's really strange to me because as far as an IP goes, like to me, I know people say like Pokemon's the number one grossing IP, but in terms of just general cultural appeal, I think Star Wars is pretty much number one. Like everyone knows who the characters are. Like people know like what Star Wars Day is now. Like does anyone know like Pokemon Day or like any other like IP have like its own day? Like Star Wars has its own day and people know about it. Like May the 4th be with you. So I don't know. It's interesting to me. It really is. Anyhow, yeah, just back to kind of the topic that led me to make this video, of course, the PSA submission. Again, got around 200 cards coming back. Hope to have a live stream maybe next weekend around what would that be like? Let's look at the calendar here. Technology is wonderful, right? So that'd be around the 11th of, 11th of September. September 11th, geez. I don't know. Not too superstitious on that one, but anyhow, may the force be with you all. Remember, just try not to be too fearful because fear is the path to the dark side. Have a great day, everyone.